All right, wrestling fans, we're back finally. It's been quite a bit layoff, but we're back with our Google Hangouts, our 27th episode. We have myself, Jeff Newby here. Nate O'Brien is also helping us today. Nate was actually newly elected to be our president-elect for USA Wrestling Utah. Nate, congrats on that, by the way. And then we got with us Ben Gosser. Ben is on our board, and he actually does a lot of the rankings. He does a lot of the team previews that you guys have been watching or looking at, and all the rankings he's involved in one form or another. So we got Ben here because we're going to be talking rankings. So we figured we'd invite him on and help us out here. So starting here today, we're gonna go today, and then we'll probably have another podcast next week. We'll keep you guys informed. We're going to talk a little bit UVU wrestling next week probably, as they have their inner squad on Friday the 27th. So mark that on your calendars. Friday the 27th at UVU will be their inner squad duel. Come out and check them out. Super excited for their team this year. So come check them out on Friday the 27th. Anyways, let's get to it. Ben, I know you helped. We're going to start with our top 10 incoming freshmen. You helped with this list, didn't you?
A little bit.
A little bit there. So we're going to go through this list. A lot of you guys have seen it. They've been out for quite a while. And we'll just discuss them. We'll predict kind of how we feel they'll do. And then any other comments that we have, we'll throw out there. So I'll start. Our number one incoming freshman this year, we have River Wardle from Harriman. Nate and Ben, let's get your opinion. What are your thoughts and predictions on River this year coming in at 106?
Well, he comes in. Go ahead, Nate.
No, you go ahead.
There's lots of kids in the 6A that you might run into, and I mean, I'm pretty sure he's wrestled quite a bit with Marco Herrera from Bingham, who's probably the best returner, I'd say. And so he should have a pretty good idea of where he sits right now. I'd put him top 2 or 3, definitely, in the 6A.
Yeah, I agree. I think River is going to be competing for a state title right off. He'll probably come in ranked 2 or 3 is my guess. Like you said, Marco Herrera looks like the top guy to start the season, because he's a returner, and River will have to prove himself. But I think he's going to be competing for a state title. A lot of pressure on him as number one. I think for the last 5 years, our number one has won state. I think 4 or 5 years. So, Nate, do you have anything on River?
My thing with River is, well, I guess the reason why we picked him number one is because he has, in our mind, on the rankings mind, the best chance to win a state title out of all the freshmen incoming. Correct? Is that why we put him number one?
Yeah. He's not only he has a great chance of winning a state title. I mean, he has a great chance of being the best 106 pounder in the state.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I see him. He does have a lot of pressure. He's a pretty wide open wrestler. I could see him getting caught or doing something dumb, but that's just kind of his style. He's beat a lot of really good kids based on his style, but he's also lost some head scratchers along the way. So he might have a few head scratchers early in the year, but I think towards the end of the year, I think, like you said, I think he'll come out on top.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move along to number 2, Scott Robertson in the 4A for Bear River. A little tougher road for Scott Robertson coming in as a freshman. He's starting the season ranked number 6, behind a returning state champion in Riker boys. It's been heard Braden Mogul will be at 113 as well. I mean, he's got just those 2 alone are tough ones for Scott, let alone, obviously he's number 6 to start with, so he's got to build up the chain. But what do you guys think his chances are of coming out on top?
And obviously he's slated to go 113, which makes it a little harder than 106. And we'll talk about 4A later, but it's pretty deep all the way through. And he's got, I mean, you talk about Boyce and Dylan Moore, but he's also got Quade Valerio and Gunnar Harrison from Payson and Uinta, respectively, that are both just solid wrestlers and bring a lot to the table. And he's going to have a hard time.
Yeah, it won't be an easy road for Scott. Say, you know, between River and Scott, definitely River has the better chances and easier road. Scott's road is going to be tough. It'll be interesting to see how he does against some of those top guys. Our number 3, Tristan Farnsworth.
Wait, can I go back and say something about Scott real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
He reminds me a lot of Tyson Humphreys. Just an absolute grinder. Just, you know, gets on a leg and will not give up until he gets the takedown. And I've watched Scott. Scott's wrestled on a couple of my dual teams that I've put together, and he's just a grinder. So, I mean, if I'm those upperclassmen, seeing him at 113 would kind of make me nervous.
Yeah.
But like you said, he does have some good competition there. He's not coming into cupcake land.
I agree. So number 3, we got Tristan Farnsworth coming in the 2A at 120. Right now, he's currently ranked 5th in the state behind Cody Stubbs, number 1, Brock Edwards, Colby Harper, Warren Grady is number 4. You know, my personal thoughts on Tristan, you know, even though he's starting the season ranked 5th, he's another one that I would expect to be at the top, if not at the top, come state tournament time. You know, he's such a tough wrestler. We took him back to Virginia last year. He came back to Virginia with us, got hurt, but before then he was doing great. But he's one that I would expect to see pretty darn near the top of the podium, if not the top of the podium, come February. Any thoughts on Tristan?
My thought is he's put in the time all spring. A lot of the other kids that you named in front of him, I haven't really seen very much all spring. And I think Tristan put in the work. He wants it. I think he's going to be on top.
Well, you probably haven't seen 4 out of the 5 of those kids ever because they don't wrestle in the spring. A Grady Warren from Millard's a tall, lanky kid that'll give lots of people fits. He beat Quentin Mortimer last year. The Stubbs kid is a solid kid from Kanab. But I'd agree, Tristan's been all over the place with the rest of the Altamont kids all spring long and all summer long. And I think you can expect some pretty good things out of Tristan.
All right, number 4, we got Brian Evans of Beaver. Now, Brian, in my opinion, has come on the last year or two. Super tough, 113 in the 2A. You know, right now he's currently ranked 4th. He's got a couple tough ones ahead of him, though. You got Van Bray, the Smith boy at North Sevier, and then you got Ren Taylor at Altamont. So all 3 of those guys are going to be tough. Not saying Brian can't beat them, but he's definitely going to have his work cut out for him, kind of like Scott Robertson. I think, you know, out of the top 4, Scott and Brian definitely had the 2 tougher roads. But, you know, it wouldn't surprise me to see Brian win, you know, but he could also come, you know, get beat by all those guys. It'll be interesting to see how he does. But definitely, you know, Van Bray's the top right there, and we'll see how it goes. Thoughts on Brian?
I think Brian's such a fun wrestler to watch. His attitude is great, and we took him up there on the dual team up there in Idaho, and he was wrestling, you know, some pretty good high school kids, and he was hanging tough. He beat a couple really good tough kids. He's just scrappy, and really has some really good funk too.
He's definitely hard to score on, and that'll keep him in some matches that maybe he shouldn't be in as a freshman against those upperclassmen, but he's hard to score on, and that'll make the difference in some of them.
Yeah. Number 5, we got Denham Torgerson. Now, Denham's wrestling for Richfield this year, which is 3A. Denham, you know, at first, I'll have to make an admission here. I didn't have Denham on my top 10 because I thought he was still weighing 85, 90 pounds. He came up to Fall League. I saw him there. He's weighing 105 pounds, and I think he'll be tough to deal with at 106. He's ranked 3rd right now in the 3A behind Jaden Williams and Joseph Meekum. But again, he's one that I can definitely see at the top of the podium come February. If he puts on another couple pounds, it's going to be. I mean, he's like what, 7 foot tall. He unbelievable how tall he is at 106. He's going to give people troubles, definitely. Anything quickly on Denham?
Tough as nails and long and knows how to use his legs really well. I could see him right up there with River being the top 106er.
Yeah, River and Denham would be a fun one to watch. You got River, kind of the wide open, crazy style almost, and you got Denham, this tall, lanky kid that, if he gets on top of River, I mean, River may not get out. He throws those legs in and rides River for 2 periods straight or whatever it is, and it would be an interesting matchup. I think that would be fun to watch, that one. So we'll go on to number 6, Lane Shepard. Lane, I think, has kind of been a sleeper coming up through junior high, and last year he kind of turned it on a little bit more. And but he's another one. He's up to 105. He came to Fall League. Actually, him and Denham wrestled at Fall League. Denham came out on top. I think it was like 5-3 or something. But Lane's at number 6, and again, another one that he's gonna be right there competing for a state title. Thoughts on Lane?
Though he's mean. Watching him wrestle, he's just hard nosed and mean for 6 minutes, and that's something that's hard to deal with. And he comes with a lot from a big family of wrestling. And he's got Heber that's been wrestling in college, and he'll be in the Spanish Fork room, and that'll be a little different than he's used to. But I wouldn't want to wrestle him if I was one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Lane's coming in at number 4 to start the season. He's behind Zach Bingham, who will be a tough one. Jackson Hansey and Cole Jensen. But again, I definitely think Lane has a shot to win a state title. Number 7, our first big guy, Spencer Tautioli. He's like a million times Super State champ, never lost a Super State. He'll be coming in at probably 220 for Pleasant Grove. This is an interesting one because, it's tough. The big guys are tough coming in at 220, wrestling those upperclassmen. And a little sneak peek, 6A rankings, he is not starting the season ranked in the top 6. But, knowing Spencer, knowing how good he is, how strong he is, I do think he'll get on the podium in February, even though he's not going to start in the rankings. Any thoughts on Spencer?
I can speak on with Spencer just because Stockton and him have been in the same club for years and years and years. So I got to watch a lot of Spencer wrestling. Spencer's a younger brother of Micah, and his older brother, and beat him up, and he's got really tough. Yeah, all of his tournaments, it seems like, as a 3rd or 4th grader, he's wrestling 6th, 7th, 8th graders because of the weight. I would dare say most of the 220 guys, a lot of them haven't wrestled as much as Spencer has. So he's wrestled a lot for a big heavyweight kid.
Yeah, he's done well, super well. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch him this year. Number 8, we got Mark Roush. He'll be at Harriman. Again, sneak peek in the 6A rankings. Probably won't start the season ranked in the top 6. Not for sure quite what weight he'll come in, thinking 52-60. But he proved this spring he can compete with the upperclassmen, and I think he'll do just fine. Depending on what weight he comes in, will probably depend if he can get on the podium or not. But I think he has a great chance, just like Spencer, to get on the podium in February. Any thoughts on Mark?
I think I probably coached against Mark the last 2 years probably 700 times. He always ends up wrestling one of the champions guys, and I guarantee he's not going to be thrown around and outworked because he's he's strong and he works hard.
Yeah. Number 9, we have Caleb Sanchez. Caleb coming in in the 2A at 120. He's ranked right below Tristan, who's on our list. We already talked about Tristan. It'll be interesting to see how Caleb does. Definitely see him getting on the podium. I don't know right now that he beats Tristan, but I definitely see him getting on the podium. He's improved tons over the last year. Any thoughts on Caleb?
So I watched and coached a few of Caleb's matches up in Pocatello, and he's a fun kid, and he's got a great attitude, and he's pretty athletic. Getting him working with high school kids and rolling there, I think he's going to surprise quite a few people this year.
Yeah. Number 10, our last one on the list, Cameron Edom of Syracuse. He'll come in around the 132 range in the 6A for Syracuse. Again, not sure that he'll start in the rankings, but like Mark Roush and Spencer, definitely with how he's done in the past, could see him sneaking onto the podium in February. So real quick, we're going to move on to our classification ranks, but real quick, we did have quite a few kids kind of just missed the cut of our top 10. We're going to give them a quick shout out. We have Jacob Finlinson of Westlake. He'll be coming in around 113, 106 in the 6A rankings coming out. He is ranked. Be interesting to see how he does this year. Sage Mortimer, she is ranked as well. I think she's 4 right now, which we'll talk about in the classification rankings. You have Lucas Cochran. You have Joshua Armstrong. Josh Armstrong was a tough one to leave off. He definitely has an argument to get on the list, but it'll be interesting to see how he does. Jaden Stange, Brock Morris, Kyler Boren, another big guy in Kyler. Donald Butler from Roy had a great season. Justin Mitchell, Waylon Pence, McIntyre Thacker, Carmen. You have Easton Richmond, you have Zeke Kelly. Lots of good kids coming in. Follow the freshmen. They're going to do well. It'll be interesting to see how they all do. Any last words on the freshmen, or should we move on to the classifications?
Let's move on.
Okay, let's do it. We're going to move through classification rankings quickly. Most of you guys, if not all of you guys, have seen them already. So we're just going to touch on a couple things, and then we'll move on. So we're going to start with 1A and 2A. Ben or Nate, any of you guys have any thoughts on the 1A or 2A?
1A's Monticello all the way.
Yeah, I mean, Monticello is so far out in front of 1A, it's ridiculous. I mean, half their team could get hurt and stay home, they'd probably still win the state title. I mean, they're so far out. They're yeah. Am I wrong on that, Ben?
No, you're right. And Monticello probably has more kids on the wrestling team than some of those kids have in their high school. And it's just part of the game, and it's always been that way. And so it'll be interesting. Milford looks better than they've been in a long time. They got some good kids coming through. It's always fun to watch those small schools come up, and the best part about it is if you go to the 1A state championship, even without Altamont, there will be more people there than were there for the whole 6A. So,
and remember, 1A state tournaments down in Richfield along with 2A this year. So 1A and 2A will be in Richfield. By the 3A,
they don't have enough seats.
It should be packed, I'm sure. So, my thoughts, quick thoughts on the 2A. You got. We'll look at the team rankings here. You got a lot more of a race than 1A. Let's say that. You got Altamont, Millard, and Beaver, North Sevier, and North Summit. Your top 5 right now. Altamont's out in front. I don't know that Altamont will run away with it. I do think there will be some kind of a race there. Millard has a strong team. They'll compete, but definitely Altamont's your favorite in the 2A this year. And any other thoughts?
Any good matchups you see in that 2A?
What I would love to see a McKay, Foy, Tate, and Ringo matchup. Right now we have Tate at 170, McKay at 160. Don't know if it'll happen. Would love to see it, but not sure it will happen.
All right. let's move on to 3A, 4A.
Let's pull up 3A and 4A.
3A, sorry.
I'm just pulling up 3A real quick here. 3A, that's where I want to talk. Ben and Nate, give us your opinions on Sage Mortimer. Ranked number 4 coming in. Can she place, first of all? And second of all, how quickly will she win a state title? And notice I said how quickly. I do think she'll win a state title eventually. But how quickly do we see her winning a state title? What are your thoughts?
I think. Go ahead, Nate.
Go ahead, Ben. You see her all the time, so you go ahead, and then I'll give you my opinion from more of a far.
And it might be a more objective opinion. I think Sage is. She might struggle just like any freshman will when it comes to the kids in her weight, especially the kid from South Summit, who is a giant, especially for 106. Anytime you're wrestling as a freshman against somebody with a giant mustache, it's tough. But I think she places this year. I think she's top 4, right? Ranked to start. And I think she wins a state title as a junior at least.
What do you think, Nate?
Ben, you're pretty, for being non-objective, you're pretty right on, I think. I think, shoot, I've seen her compete with Waylon Pence. I've seen her beat Waylon Pence. It would be interesting with Denham Torgensen. Denham's so long, if he got on top, maybe that wouldn't. But, gosh, she's got so many tools. I mean, she can throw anybody. And in wrestling, if you got a good throw, you always have a chance against the top wrestlers. Like you said, the top kid from South Summit, he's a senior. You know, I'd say by her junior year, if she could stay at 106, I could see her winning a state title. 113 would be a little tough, maybe her senior year. But definitely, if she stays 106, I can see her winning a state title by her junior year for sure. And maybe even next year as a sophomore, just depending on who comes in and who's there. A lot of these kids, 106, move on.
Yeah.
So
team-wise in the 2A or in the 3A, you got Delta number 1, kind of out in front a little bit there. You got Morgan, you got Juab, you got South Summit, kind of all behind there. I think Delta's the clear favorite here.
It's a race for second.
Right now it's a race for second. So individual matchups, again, not a ton in the 2A. I would like to see a Tanner Shields, Chase Trussell, different weights. Tanner Shields 195, Chase Trussell 220. So not sure that will happen. Other than that, you know, in the 3A, 106 to me is most interesting with Denham and Sage to see kind of how they end up. Let's move on to 4A. 4A, we have a little bit more depth on the team, I think. We have, you know, Uinta, Payson, Bear River, Mountain Crest, I think are all up there. I think Mountain Crest may be ranked a little low. But, you know, I think Uinta, Payson is going to be a battle. I think Uinta is the favorite, I would say, but I think Payson is going to be their battle. Any thoughts on the 4A?
Is 4A the deepest class, do you think?
You know, I guess it depends on what you think's deep. You know, we'll get to 5A in a second, and Ben, maybe you can chime in here. But, you know, I think 5A could have the best possible race. Actually, 6A could be pretty good too. But, you know, I don't know if it's the most deep. I think 5A and 6A are tough.
I would say that 4A's the deepest. I mean, you have 4 teams that could win it. And if you look at the weight classes, I mean, you look at one, in my opinion, 4A 145 is probably the deepest weight class in the state. I mean, you have kids who placed at state last year who aren't even ranked. And that's kind of crazy considering 6 divisions.
I agree. 4A at 145 is tough. When you have a kid like Tucker Nacarado that got left out Jace Dart is number 6, although I think Jace is ranked too low at number 6. But you're right. I think 45 is a pretty deep weight class. I think 52 is a deep weight class. Yeah. I mean, you have a kid, Ryan Hansen, ranked 6th, Austin Holmes 5th. I think that's a deep weight class. I mean, I would agree 4A has some deep individual weight classes. Team race, though, I don't know that it's a 4-team team race. I think Uinta is further out in front. Right now we have it at 92 points for Uinta and 60 points for Mountain Crest. I don't think Mountain Crest can make up that many points to necessarily challenge Uinta for the title. And quite frankly, I don't know that Bear River can either. And I
like Payson's chance to win this.
I think Payson is, I would say, out of all the teams, would be the one team that has a decent shot, the better chance to catch Uinta. So I don't know that it's a 4-team race for number 1 at least. But as far as individual weights go, I do agree that some of these individual weights are pretty good. Even 195, you have Tyler Haley, Byron Anderson, and Cooper Legault. All 3 of those guys are great wrestlers. But any other, 138, you have Anthony Herrera, Brock Loveless, Ryan Ball, Skinner. That's a tough weight class too. You have 26 Cub Dietz, Ryan Larson, and Wyatt Hone. All 3 are going to be tough. And at 113, with Mogul going down to 13, Mogul and Boyce, that's going to be like an all-star type matchup. Yeah. Both of them are great wrestlers. Both have wrestled on our national teams. That's a matchup I would love to see. Any last thoughts on the 4A? All right, let's go to the 5A.
Still think it might be the deepest.
Well, let's look at 5A. Let's look at 5A, and then we'll touch on 6A, and then we'll see. Ben, you want to take 5A and give us your first thoughts on it?
It's closer than I thought it'd be. After you get it all ranked out and all the kids where the coaches and everybody think they're going to be, it's closer than I thought. When we did the returning points, Wasatch was out ahead. All the comments and everything everybody has to say, Wasatch is going to walk away with it, and they might, but I think it's going to be closer than most people expect, with Viewmont coming down from last year's 5A, or maybe staying 5A, however you want to look at it. Maple Mountain, if they can not be hurt at every other weight like they were last year, they bring a solid team that'll score a lot of points.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun race, 3-team race. Definitely, again, Wasatch is the favorite, but things could change. Now, Ben, I have a question for you. Okay. Brandon Van Tassel, you really think he'll be at 170, or are you thinking 182?
I talked to, my kid works out with him. They lift every day, and he says that he's not that much bigger than last year.
Really?
A little bit, but not much, and I don't think he struggled to make 170 last year.
So here's a question, Nate. I'll ask you this question. Brock Hardy, 152. Anybody challenging him this year? Will anybody give him a go? Anybody can step up to the plate and try and go his way and see what they can do?
No. That's why I think potentially I would have potentially 145 could be one of the tougher weights. Just maybe not name recognition toughness, but just deep, because so many people that are close to 52 are going to definitely cut to 45.
Unless they have a reason not to, there'll be everybody who even thinks they have a shot at winning will cut the extra weight to get to 45 to try.
And then even with Isaac going 160, I think he only weighs like 149 or something like that, but he's going up to 160.
No, Isaac weighs about 154.
That was a shot to Brigham.
One match, I'm excited to see, and I hope they do stay the same. I hope they do both go 138. Zach Kohler and Abe, both state champions. Zach's a 2-timer, trying to be a 4-timer. will Abe go after Kohler and try and knock him off? I hope to see the match. I know they've wrestled in the spring. You know, Kohler beat him in the spring in freestyle and Greco. Love to see him in folk style. Abe was undefeated last year. Anyways, that's another all-star type matchup I'd love to see. I know on the comments, you know, people were asking about Parker Frazier, you know, being number one. Parker's an All-American, folk style All-American. Blotter's a freestyle and Greco All-American. Cooper Cox is a Greco All-American. We have 3 All-Americans in that weight. But Parker ended up on top, folk style All-American, returning state qualifier. I don't think Preston qualified for state I can't remember. Nate, you might have better insight there, whether he just wasn't in the lineup. I'm not for sure.
He didn't qualify for state.
So, you know, Parker ends up starting the season.
Does he weigh more than 100 pounds yet?
Good question. Nate, do you know the answer to that?
I do not know if Parker weighs more than 100 pounds.
No, Preston Blotter.
Was Preston Blotter? I think he's barely over 100 pounds finally, but not much.
Got it. Another question on the messages was Dylan Morgan. I think they were referring to Dylan Morgan. He jumped up from 106 to 126. He's ranked above Eastman, Otterson, and Hansen. The way these rankings, just so people know, they're coaches' rankings. So, you know, in the end, myself, Ben, we didn't have necessarily a final say. I guess we did since we put it on the website. But, you know, essentially a coach from each division did the rankings. They were sent out to all coaches. All coaches gave feedback. And then the coach that was kind of in charge kind of took that feedback, put it in, along with my help, Ben's help. And essentially the coaches' rankings. Because coaches were able to give feedback and we listened to them, and the one coach that was in charge had the ultimate say. And so essentially for these preseason rankings, most of the time they went by state placing. So for example, at 126, Dylan Morgan, number 3, I think he came 6th last year. No one else behind him placed. Therefore, he starts the season at number 3. Cole Patterson, I think, came 4th, Sammy 2nd. So you guys kind of understand how these classification rankings are going, or how they will go all season. These are rankings that we're going to let the coaches have more of a hand in, and they're going to do them. You know, my time, Ben. We're going to be doing more of the Beehive Top 25, the Power Polls, the youth rankings. So we're not going to have necessarily time to do all the classification. That's why we're putting it more on the coaches.
That being said, if your kid's not at the right weight, or you have a team that doesn't have kids at the right weight, call your coach because he didn't respond to the email.
Right. You know, and I've gotten texts and I've gotten emails. Hey, why isn't my kid there? Why isn't he here? And the simple answer is your coach got the email, and talk to your coach. Have him respond. Have him get involved. And we want to get these correct. We want to get these as correct as possible. But especially preseason, even in season, I can tell you right now, we don't have the time to look at all the results. Coaches are the best to give information, so they've got to respond. They've got to help out. Otherwise, these classification rankings won't work. Anyways, yes, good input. Any other feedback on 5A? You know, Isaac Wilcox, Brad Finley. Brad at 160 could be a good one. Brad's come on pretty strong the last couple of years. And then even at 220, Cade Carlson, Ryan Gunn, Jackson Strong, that could be a good ranking, a good class too. So, all right, we're gonna move on to 6A, our last one before we close it up for the night.
You didn't think it was as tough as 4A, did you?
What, 5A?
Yeah.
I don't know, because like I said, you got Wasatch, you got Viewmont, you got Maple Mountain, and Box Elder. I mean,
it's true.
You know, you got 4 teams. You look at 4. I don't know. I guess
the Rumble will settle it.
Right. I'm just speaking out loud. But you take Box Elder at 4, and you take the 4A. Who's the 4A number 4? It's Mountain Crest, right?
Mountain Crest.
Who's better, Box Elder or Mountain Crest right now? And I don't have the answer.
Probably Mountain Crest.
If you're doing rankings, I don't know. I think
shot at Chris Hardy.
As far as and now I don't know who's actually going to end up. I haven't gone side by side. Obviously, Box Elder is my school. I got to side with Box Elder, but
did Box Elder get whooped up by Bear River last year?
I don't know.
I think they did. I thought they got hammered.
They got beat pretty good.
We need to figure out how to do comments so viewers can send in comments and ask us questions on the air, and we can get some of those answers maybe. Again, look at Maple Mountain at number 3. In the 4A, you got Bear River. And right now I take Maple Mountain over Bear River. And then you got Viewmont at number 2. You got Payson over here. And again, I haven't done a side by side, but I might take Viewmont. They're tough this year. I mean, Viewmont is one of the best teams in the state, I think.
Hey Jeff, just real quick. Last year, the team that scared me coming from a Wasatch's point of view was Payson. Payson, the way they matched up with us. We talked about that before the season started. You and I had a conversation on how close that duel could possibly be. And I look at Viewmont. Viewmont scares me as a Wasatch person too. I mean, the way that where they match up, it's kind of strength on strength, So there's a lot of there's a lot of good matchups there. Sorry, Chris.
Well, you're right.
It is true, right, Chris? It is true. You guys would lose to Mountain Crest. But Viewmont does. I mean, it's. I think it could be potentially a tighter race than last year. Wasatch and Payson.
Right. I mean, Viewmont has depth. I mean, you look at these rankings, and they have 2 kids ranked. I mean, I don't know how many weights, but I mean, at 182 they have 2 kids ranked. At 170 they have 2 kids ranked, and they got kids ranked all over the board. They're one of the better teams in the state, and they're going to surprise people this year. And they're young. They're not. It's not all seniors. They're young. Anyways, I'm not saying 5A is deeper than 4A or 4A is deeper than because I haven't looked at it deep enough to know.
That was just my initial thought, but looking at it, it's probably maybe pretty even.
But if I had to say someone right now, the top 4 teams in 5A are better than, not team for team. I'm just saying overall the top 4 are deeper in 5A than 4A. Now,
okay, let me ask you this: what's your top 4 teams overall in the state?
Wait till 25 comes out, and you'll find out.
Yeah, and also I was going to get into all-star matchups because there's some all-star matchups I'd like to see. The top teams in state. We're going to do those in the next week.
Yeah, we'll do those. We're jumping ahead a little bit. Let's get to 6A.
Yeah, our time's up. We need to close out here, but
trying to keep a little shorter, people, so you're not bored by the end and just hearing us ramble on. So let's get to 6A.
6A. So we haven't posted 6A rankings. We're not quite done with them. We've emailed the coaches. We're getting feedback. But real quick, and so these can completely change. And so we're not going to go in depth. I'll give you a little sneak peek at team rankings, though. This is kind of fun. Right now, PG with the rankings as they are, which, again, they could change completely because they're not even complete. But right now, as we have them, PG is number 1 with 168 points. Number 2 is Fremont with 142. Number 3 is Layton with 134, and number 4 is Syracuse with 118. Talk about depth. 4, 5, or 6A has depth again. At number 5 we have American Fork. At number 6 we have Harriman. At number 7 Westlake. Number 8 Bingham. Again, all these could change, but 6A is pretty deep when you look at overall. But PG right now is out in front. There's a couple questions that could alter these, and we're trying to figure them out. Ben, I know Nate, you haven't seen the 6A rankings. Ben, you have. You're helping with them. Do you want to give any insights, or you want to keep it all until we post them? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's still early to say. I mean, the numbers you just said are different than the last numbers that I saw. So, or the numbers that I'm looking at right now. Again, you're going to have some solid races. Pleasant Grove wants to make it last year look like a fluke, and in talking to doing the team previews and stuff, the Layton coaches know that last year doesn't mean anything for this year, and they'll be doing what they can. And Fremont has a pretty good team, and and they could, if it wasn't for Layton's kids at some of the same weights as the Fremont studs, then they might be able to walk away with it. But the way things match up, they're going to go head to head with Barraclaw and with Humphreys, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah. So we won't talk too much about the 6A rankings from here. We'll get them posted hopefully Monday or Tuesday, and then we'll be able to talk more later. Next week we're going to try UVU preview. Any last comments, Nate or Ben, before we close this?
We need to enable user comments because you guys got to see the stuff that Brockstad is sending out. It's hilarious. We'll work on that. We'll work on the comments. We'd love to see them. I just see Ben and Nate over there laughing. I'm not getting any texts, but we'll have to enable comments in the future, or figure that out. Anyways, next week, UVU preview, inter squad on Friday next week, and then we'll try and get the Beehive top 25 and all these other rankings out, and we'll discuss those also. Anyways, till next week.
Thanks. See you guys.